Today I'm going to show you the MACD. So on your chart, this top one here that I placed it on the top is your MACD. Okay, so I've got this, I downloaded this really nice little PDF from one Forex website. So I'll put it in the group and I'll add it to our little PDF book. The MACD consists of three components. There's 2 lines and 1 histogram. Okay, so the MACD line is the blue line. Okay, it is a faster line on the indicator. Since it reacts faster, it is more sensitive. It generally moves above and below the second line of the indicator. Okay, so the second line is the signal line. This is a slower line. It generates the basic MACD signals. Since the line is slower, it is frequently breached by the faster MACD line. Okay, and then you got the MACD histogram, which is these bars over here. Okay, so this is the difference between the MACD line and the signal line. Okay, so the bigger the gap between the lines, the higher the bars are that the MACD histogram will display. As you can see here, you can see there's a big gap over here, and so obviously then the bars go low. Here you will see that there's a big gap between the MACD line and the signal line, and so the bars go higher. Same over here, this gap here between these 2 lines and the bars go lower. Over here as well, you see they go quite high, and here as well. So on most trading platforms, the MACD indicator typically comes with the default parameters 26, 12, and 9. So if you go to your trading view and you go to here and you go settings, okay, you will see over here 12, 26, and 9. Okay, so this is the standard. You don't need to change anything. It works very well on these parameters. Okay, the structure of the MACD line comes with calculating a 12-period exponential moving average on the price action and then subtracting a 26-period exponential moving average from the result. The difference between the 2 EMAs gives you the value of the faster line. I'll do a video on the exponential moving average, and with that I will explain what those are. So the 9 comes from the calculation of the slower line, the signal line. This line is a product of a 9-period exponential moving average plotted on the faster MACD line. The first signal that we mostly look for are the crossovers. So we get a bullish MACD crossover and a bearish MACD crossover. Okay, so the bullish MACD crossover comes when the MACD line crosses the slower signal line and the bullish direction. This action generates a bullish signal on the chart, which implies the price might start to increase. So you can see here it's going down and the MACD line crosses the signal line, and then we get a price increase. You see from here it's in a downtrend and it goes up because it crossed over. This MACD signal is a delayed indicator. Okay, so when you get a cross in the MACD, you don't buy then. You can obviously, but it is a bullish sign, but we tend to buy when that gap is the biggest. So when that gap is the biggest and you can see the MACD blue line starting to bend back up again, that's when we buy. Because if you have to buy at the crossover, you've already missed this whole move. Okay, if you buy when it starts rounding the bottom, you are buying the bottom over there. So you've made all that extra money. Okay, so now the bearish MACD crossover is the opposite of the bullish MACD crossover. So when the signal line, the MACD line crosses the signal line, that in the bearish direction, we have bearish crossover. So when it's up and it's going to go down and it crosses over, that's where you get a bearish crossover. So here's a nice example over here. We get the crossover where the MACD line crosses over the signal line and starts going down. So you can see over here when this top MACD starts bending over, that's when you will sell, when this gap here is also big and when it starts bending over towards the downside, that's when you sell, so that you can obviously make the most money. Okay, so that's the one of the signals from the MACD. There's the bullish and bearish crossover. Okay, so then you get the divergences. So it's like the same as the RSI divergence. So if you've watched my previous video on divergence, we did exactly the same for the MACD divergence. Okay, so over here you can see there is they're given an example. You can use these moving averages that they have over here And you can also use the histogram as well. Remember, when you're doing the bottoms, you have to make sure you also get the bottoms. After a downtrend, you will measure the bottoms. At the top of the bull run, you will measure the tops. Okay, so you can't do the bottom and then the top over here. You have to do bottom and the bottom. You can see over here, we had a lower low here, but on the MACD line and the signal line, we had a higher low. So this is bullish. And then you can see, obviously, the price increases. So let's go back to our charts and see. Okay, so from here, you can see we have a low and we have a lower low on the candles, on the price action. And even on the MACD, the RSI, you can see a low and a higher low, which is bullish. And then on the MACD, we have a low and a higher low. Okay, so this all says bullish. And what happened to Bitcoin? Woof. Okay, so we saw a nice increase in price because we had bullish divergence on the RSI and on the MACD. And then obviously, so we got the overbought and the oversold. Okay, so for here, for instance, we had a high and a higher high. And then on the histogram, we have a high, a high and a lower high. This is bearish. Okay. You didn't really see it on the RSI because it's very, very similar. But on the MACD, you can see it's very, very obvious. And then obviously you can see now we've had a downtrend. Okay, so it's a very nice indicator to use. It's very nice to use all the indicators together because you can get different things from different indicators. And if you put them all together, it's like a puzzle. Okay, so those are the divergences. The MACD overbought and oversold. Many people don't know this about the MACD indicator, but the MACD indicator also provides overbought and oversold signals. The overbought MACD, when the MACD gains a relative big distance from the signal line, in such cases, we expect the bullish move to execute after the strong increase and bearish move to appear. And then oversold MACD is the opposite of the overbought signal when the MACD gains a relatively significant bearish distance from the signal line when you are getting an oversold MACD signal. When that gap is big and it starts curving, you can see it's overbought. So when it becomes overbought, sell. The same as the other side. If you get a bigger gap over here than it is on the rest of the MACD, buy in because that's where you will get an oversold bounce. So you will buy in there on where the distance between the MACD and the signal line is the greatest. Okay, that's a good signal for overbought and oversold. Let me just show you quickly. As you can see here, the divergence, I said to you, you can also use the histogram for that as well. Okay, so for like this one, for instance, where we have a low and a lower low, and we have a low and a higher low, you also have it on the histogram as well. So you can then use this histogram. You have a low and a higher low, as you can see between these two peaks. So you can also use the histogram for your divergence as well.